Everybody, it's me, your buddy Dave, the host of the Dark Stuff channel here on YouTube. Thanks a lot for checking out my latest video. This week, I'm doing a recent vinyl pickups video. I've got a pretty weird range of stuff. Stay tuned. So these are some pickups over the last month or two that I've gotten from a couple of different places. I'll try and point that out, assuming I can remember. The first up, of course, is the new Tommy Stinson record, and I just did an entire video about this, which is linked to above here or wherever they moved the card feature to. So there's no real need to talk about it. It is Tommy Stinson's Cowboys in the Campfire. This was gotten via mail order. So yeah, next I hit a new, or at least new to me, record store called 402 Vinyl. They've been around for a little while, and I know that the people that run it do tables at the record shows, and I've met them before. I bought some stuff, and they've given me their card, and I always mean to go out there, but every time I either called or looked it up on the internet or something, it seemed like they were closed, and I guess they're only open 3 to 4 days a week, so I kept just hitting it at a bad time. The store is in Bellevue, Nebraska, which is just south of Omaha, and it's in this mall called Southroads. I hadn't been inside the Southroads Mall since the 1980s. I mean, the way Omaha works, you know, there's West Roads, there's Crossroads, and then there's South Roads. Okay, there is no East Roads and there's no North Roads. Those are just the three, right? So West Roads was sort of in West Omaha, Crossroads was kind of in Middle Omaha, and then South Roads, South Omaha or Bellevue. To say that the mall has seen better days is like an understatement, right? The entire mall is completely abandoned. I'm going to put some footage up from that my friend Joey took. There are 3 things in the entire mall. Okay, it is completely abandoned except for 3 things. And the thing is, of course, the record store, 402 Vinyl, a Greek restaurant, and a gym. And not gym supplies or gym equipment. It's an actual gym, and I took a look inside, and it's not one of these gyms with like a lot of like attractive women and people doing cardio and stuff. It's like, no, it's just big muscle meatheads doing free weights. Like that was the entire gym, was huge dudes doing free weights. So you know there's no fun being had in that gym like whatsoever. Anyways, the store is pretty cool. It's a good size. A lot of collectible vinyl. So if you are looking for rarities and you're spending some money, they definitely have some of that. They had a big section of Japanese pressings, which, so if you're into that, the Japanese pressings with the obi strip and everything, they had tons of those. They also had a back section with 7 inches, and I was looking for 7-inch picture sleeves. They told me that they had somebody that used to own a jukebox company dump off a bunch of stock that they had just sitting somewhere. So there were multiple copies of these records, and they looked like they'd never been played. Like they'd just been sitting there since the 80s. I was looking for some Bangles or Elvis Costello, but I didn't actually find any. What I did get, though, was pretty cool. I got this collection here called Slash, the early sessions, and what it is it's a compilation from Slash Records that came out in 1983, and it has just a sample of their bands from the time. So it's got the Blasters, it's got Gun Club, Rank and File, Violent Femmes, X, Fear, The Germs, and the Dream Syndicate. X is on here twice, and the Blasters are on here twice. And what I didn't really realize was Rank and File, their song "The Conductor Wore Black" was like super cool. I went online and started listening to some of their other stuff. It was pretty good. So the rest of the stuff I got there, I picked up this Honeymoon Suite. They were like a Canadian pop metal band from the 80s, and I don't know, I remembered them being like better. The song "Feel It Again" was like a moderate hit, but I don't know, it didn't really do much for me. I got this from Rick Nelson, "I Need You." It isn't a Rick Nelson I was very familiar with, but then again, that doesn't say much. And then I got another Fats Domino, "The $1 Million Magic of Fats Domino." This is a compilation that came out in the 70s, and this just has, you know, the standard great hits. But I do pick up pretty much anything Fats Domino. So the guy sold me the whole lot there for like $20, which is I thought like a very good deal. It's a pretty cool place. 402 vinyl. I ended up last time or two I hit Homer's. I check in on a record that I've been wanting to buy, but I was waiting till the price came down. And this one, Hey Clockface from Elvis Costello. This is his 2020 album. It's a gatefold. I have it digitally, and I've heard it a lot. It's a great record, but I didn't want to buy it on vinyl at like $30 or $25, and it gets slowly marked down to the point where I bought it for $12.99. Absolutely reasonable. Great album, Elvis Costello. Also made recent trips over to Grapefruit Records, picked up a couple of things. One of the things I got there was the soundtrack to the movie Lenny, and this is 1974 film, I believe, starring Dustin Hoffman, and it's the story of Lenny Bruce, and this is the soundtrack, which has little bits of the score, but then a lot of clips of Dustin Hoffman doing Lenny Bruce bits. And let me just say that at some point earlier in my life, in my mid to late 20s, I kind of went through a huge Lenny Bruce phase. Like, I got super into him. I started reading all these books about him. I bought some of his records. I bought his book. So I'm assuming at some point in the 90s, I must have seen this movie and thought it was all right. I mean, I don't know. I really did not like listening to this record. It was just bad. I don't know. I guess maybe in 1974, because there was no internet, there were no VCRs, there was no... you couldn't just pull up Lenny Bruce at any given moment. You had to either have a record or whatever, or the visual stuff you just couldn't see. So now having the benefit of seeing all sorts of clips of Lenny Bruce, listening to his albums, listening to all sorts of other stuff, listening to just this weak imitation, I did not like it. Did not like it. I picked up another Wanda Jackson album. This is probably 6 or 7 for me. This is You'll Always Have My Love. Wanda Jackson with the Party Timers. This is in her country period. She's definitely a Nashville gal at this point. Her voice, though, just transcends. It's really, really good. And this one was the mystery to me, okay? Tommy Bolin, Private Eyes. Now, I know who Tommy Bolin is from his brief stint with Deep Purple in the mid-1970s. I mean, I know he had the daunting task of replacing Ritchie Blackmore in Deep Purple, and he played on their final album of their original run, Come Taste the Band, an album which I've never totally warmed up to because it just doesn't sound that much like Deep Purple to me, but that's neither here nor there. The guitar playing is pretty good, but I figured, I knew he died shortly after Deep Purple broke up, and he in like 1976 or so or whatever, and so there's been all this mythology about him and the music that he made and stuff, and he was making this while he was making Come Taste the Band at the same time, and people are like, wow, I mean, is he so good that he should be doing both? Like, he can't even quit doing a solo album to work with Deep Purple, like he's that big a deal, he can do both, but I don't know. So I finally heard this for the first time, and I will say, like, the first 2 songs, Bustin' Out for Rosie and Sweet Burgundy, were pretty awful. And I was sort of thinking, wow, what is the deal? Like, why is this guy, like, but then you get Post Toasty and then basically side 2, and it actually got pretty good. It was pretty interesting. Post Toasty was a long song, and I hate long songs, but it was actually good. I could hear his guitar playing and finally understood, like, okay, this guy is really great as a player. I see why Deep Purple wanted him. I see why he was offered the gig. I mean, is this changing my world? No, not really, but I mean, I'm glad to have gotten it. It was only like $5, and it just sort of ends my mystery of wondering what Tommy Bolin's sort of music was like. It kind of makes me want to go back and listen to Come Taste the Band again and see if my feelings on it have changed. I kind of think it won't, but you never know. And then the last 2 things were things I picked up at the last Omaha record show. It was a bit of a bust for me at the last one. I didn't really find all that much stuff that I was interested in, but I did get a cheap copy of Blue Oyster Cult Agents of Fortune to add to my incomplete collection. And then I got a copy of Dylan, Slow Train Coming. I know this is one of his Christian albums, which I find a really fascinating period, okay? Like, I'm not a religious person, so I don't really care. But I mean, it is just bizarre that Bob Dylan at some point in the late 70s had what he thought was like this religious experience and went from being Jewish to like being an evangelical Christian for a couple of years, wrote all these like kind of Jesus records, and then after a couple of years went back to being whatever he did before. So it's interesting. I know the song Gotta Serve Somebody. That's all I've heard, all I'd heard prior. And I know that Mark Knopfler from Dire Straits plays guitar on it. I guess like my thoughts on it were like, it's not a bad record, okay? And I think that Bob Dylan, maybe this whole Christian thing would have worked out for him a little bit better and the audience would have accepted it more if he hadn't just decided to not play any of his old shit. You know what I mean? Like it kind of like what happened with Cat Stevens when he decided to go in a more religious direction. He did make music. He's like, don't call me Cat Stevens. I'm not going to do any of those old songs. No Tea for the Tiller Man. No, none of that shit. It's going to be just about religion. And Dylan tried that for like a couple of years, and it pissed people off. If he had integrated it a little bit with his old stuff, maybe it would have worked out. Maybe, you know, I don't know about with Cat Stevens. Who knows? That was a slightly different scenario, obviously. Well, anyways, that's pretty much what I got for you this time around. Thanks a lot for watching, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.